Welcome to Blinkers Off with your hosts, Jared Welch and Aaron Halterman.
Well, what is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It is Wednesday, June 5th, and this is Blinkers Off. What's up, man?
Yeah, what's up, man? This is, gosh, what a weekend we got ahead of us. I can't wait for this. They've done such a good job with these cards. If you watch Magic Mike, Somich said, I think the Belmont might be like the 10th race I'm looking forward to the most out of the 2 days. That might be a little extreme, but it's not that far off,
really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of with them, really. It's kind of like, oh, that's a bonus. We get to watch the Belmont, too. But, I mean, if you didn't have the Belmont, you wouldn't, like, leave the day being like, that this weekend sucked, you know?
No.
So I think that's kind of the point. Is it's great. Don't get me wrong. I think it's still going to be a great race, but Friday really brings it, and then Saturday just kind of keeps going. So it's just and not to mention like I don't know how many Belmonts. Do you know? I haven't really sat there and thought how many we've at least seen. We went 4, 5,
4 or 5.
Definitely 2 because I know the 2 Triple Crowns. We went and saw Essential Quality.
Yep.
We saw Sir Winston.
Yep.
There's 4. I feel like was there another one?
Seems
like there was
one. It seems like there's one more, but I don't remember it.
Either way, 4 or 5, it's like we've been to many of them, and it's like, but now we're like going to Saratoga. Obviously, we've been to Saratoga 1,000 times, but just the combination of these two is something that I don't know. I haven't quite. I think it's not really going to hit me until we get there, and you're like, oh yeah, the Belmont is at Saratoga.
Yeah, 100%. Heather and I were talking about this today. We're like, it's so bizarre that we're going there in June. And it's like, I just can't envision what's going to happen this weekend. You know, like
I know.
I just can't get a feel for, and it's not just the Belmont. It's like said, like when they run the Acorn, you know, in races like that, it's like, this shouldn't be happening here, but it is. And what's Saratoga going to look like in June running races that should be at Belmont? I mean, it is just such a bizarre thing that I just can't wait. Like you feel like you get a bonus weekend at Saratoga. That's always good. And then these races, if you combine the 2 days, the Friday, Saturday, it's the Breeders' Cup, except no 2-year-olds. I mean, that's what it is. It's awesome.
Yeah. No, I think it's 4. Vero, Justify, Sir Winston, and Essential Quality. This will be 5.
Yep, I think you're right.
I kind of remember all the other ones. I mean, I do remember all the ones. I remember not, I remember where I was at. I mean, I remember seeing Creator in Vegas.
Yep.
I think Pharaoh was the first one, right?
Yeah.
And then I don't think we saw Tappert.
No.
Tislaw, obviously not. Yeah, such a quality, and we didn't see Modonagall and Arcangelo in person.
Nope. So it's 4.
There you go. 5 will be this weekend. So, and what I wanted to go to. So yeah, it's listen, guys, I cannot from a standpoint of all day event. I mean, this is the best day of all 3 legs. Not to mention, again, like I don't want to keep harping on it, but not to mention it's at Saratoga. So it's just the racing is going to be off the chain Friday and Saturday, really all weekend, obviously, but especially Friday. I mean, I had to include the Acorn on today's show because I'm like, that's such a good race. It's almost, it makes sense to do because it's like the Oaks again, and this one's a lot like the Derby again in some regards. So it's just 2 really good races that we're going to cover today. But is there a race? Obviously, guys, the Belmont Bible is out there for sale currently. Halterman just sent it over to me. I'll be working on that tonight. I'll have it posted up later tonight. So be looking for that. I'll shoot out an email, even if it's late. I'll shoot out an email that it is available. But so we'll talk. Like, you'll get all our information, all our picks, Halterman and I, as well as the whole team at Racing Dudes, all our analysis for Saturday's card. But is there a race Friday or Saturday that we're not talking about on today's show that you're just like, for whatever reason, you're just extremely psyched up for?
We're talking about the Belmont and the Acorn on today's show. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I could just go down the list. I think the Manhattan is just a slugfest of all slugfests. I think it's the Manhattan might be the best race of the whole weekend. It's amazing. The New York on Friday is incredible. It's just they're two incredible races. But I could really go down the list and name a bunch. But those are the two that really jumped out to me. I think maybe not from a quality standpoint, but just what in the hell is actually going to happen here? The Woody Stevens to me is a total just throw your hands in the air. Like, I don't really know. A lot of different things could happen there. So those are great. But, if I had to pick just one, I would probably pick the Manhattan. I think that's just world-class turf horses that are just going to clash in that should be an epic race.
Yeah, and even if you want to just, I'm kind of with you on the Manhattan, but even if you just want to, yes, the Med Mile came up weak from a kind of like his amount of horses, but to see kind of White Barrio and National Treasure, assumingly throw it down, that there's worse. I mean, if you see that, that kind of, we always talk about like, you can count right on both your hands how many like epic stretch runs we've seen at Saratoga, and it's just, this one feels like it could be that way with National Treasure, obviously seemingly going to be up front, and White Barrio going to do his thing, or at least try to do his thing late in that race. So even though the field sucks, I'm not ready to toss, throw in the towel, being like, oh fuck, the Met Mile sucks, like forget it. Like I think we could see a really good race. It just maybe between two horses.
Well, you've got the classic Breeders' Cup Classic winner and the Whitney winner and White Barrio versus the Pegasus winner and the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner and National Treasure. I mean, won a mile on the dirt in this country. What more are you really supposed to draw in it? And I know it only got 6, and from a betting standpoint, it's not great. But from I want to watch these two horses run to see who wins. It's pretty incredible. I think it's going to be pretty dang awesome, actually. But again, it doesn't have the betting aspect, and so that's why I didn't list it. But it's definitely a race that it's going to get your heart pumping, especially if those two big horses are coming down the stretch, like you said, in one of those stretch duels that we see up there a lot. It would be a lot of fun to watch that unfold.
Yeah. So guys, let's just get into today's show, because obviously Halterman, Halterman's been around the media circuit today, whether it's been on national circuit, with our boy on VSiN or now with us, and he's been on the Dudes Who Bet. Were you on the Magic Mike or no?
I was in the background making fun of Magic. Yeah.
Magic by Twin Spires, right? No.
You're
no,
right.
But you'll probably get fired for that. So let's, Halterman, hopefully you've been saving all of your best insight for us tonight.
Oh, I have. I've saved it all for this one. I let Papa Dude talk mostly on the Dudes Who Bet Sports, and yeah, Patrick. We talked more about Dustin and his lack of game with the women on Sharp Money. So yeah, I saved the best comments for this show right here for sure.
Kevin, I'm just been prepping for you, man. Prepping for you. Listen, single Jared in Saratoga is it's like the stars are aligning. So
yep.
Kevin, I expect big things. Big things from your group on Friday. So all right, let's get to today's show. Speaking of Friday, we're going to look at the Acorn Friday first, $500,000 DK Horse Acorn Stakes, and of course the main event on Saturday. We're going to preview and give picks for the $2 million Belmont Stakes. Of course, this year ran at Saratoga. Let's go. Oh, Steve, it won't be the same without you, Steve.
No.
Will not be the same without you.
That's funny. That's
Let me tell you a funny story about Steve. And there's lots of them, actually. But
okay.
The one that relates to Saratoga.
Okay.
You know which one that is.
Yeah.
I don't, and honestly, dude, I don't even remember what day it was. You weren't there.
It's Jim Dandy Day.
Jim Dandy, you were not there. You had other things going on.
Yep.
And Steve, we had a table in the paddock bar, in the paddock, and listen. You would have been so proud of me and him, really, both of us together. Like we put, I don't even know how I don't know how it's possible that we put so much away, but we did. And I mean, I don't even know what the bill was. Of course, Evil Steve took care of that because he didn't care towards the end of the day. And like, I've never been more jealous of that man because we were just so annihilated, trashed. And no offense, but I was staying. You had left town, so I needed a place to stay. It was like I'd worked out with Somich, right? I was like, hey, his family was in town or like lives there or lived there. So like, hey, can I crash with you guys? But like Steve got to go. Like he was like, I'm going back to the hotel and I'm going to bed. And I was like, part of me was like, can I go with you? I swear I'll just sleep on the other side. But like, I had to go to Somich's family's house. They had like a big family dinner, like eating all this fancy food. And I'm just over there like trying to keep my shit together. I mean, again, credit to Somich. It was great. He knew it too. Like you could tell, like he was like, dude. And I was like just sitting the whole time thinking, fuck, God, I'd love to be in a hotel room sleeping right now.
Yeah, that was the Tacitus day. Tacitus lost to Jim Dandy, and seems like I can't remember who won the other one, but yeah,
we should do it again, Steve. Well, I mean, it was good times,
great times.
You were what were you doing? You had a funeral or something.
I was at a funeral. Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't remember why it was that you were. Let's see. Let me bring up the race here.
I actually broke my phone that day.
What at Tacitus?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Well, that makes sense.
If you go watch the replay of that Jim Dandy, I don't remember what year it was. He's way the best horse. He breaks terrible and he's dicking around. He still makes a huge move. Of course, he can't get there. And I threw my phone up against a fence. Yep. I was pretty drunk too because we had a big family get together. So it was a nightmare day for me. You had more fun.
Well, until the races ended.
Well, it's fair. Yeah. I've been over to the Somich's parents' house, and it is nice house, and they're very nice people. But I wouldn't want to be over there completely trashed. That's not the scene.
Yeah, there's a time and a place, right? And that was not it. No. It was. I was just dying to just like I've never been so excited just to lay down in bed after the end of the festivities, So
yeah.
Anyways, but yeah, great time. So let's see. Yeah, we'll go to Friday here, guys. We'll do Friday the Acorn, and then we'll jump over to the Belmont. Friday at Saratoga, race number 12, the DK Horse Acorn Stakes, grade 1, worth $500,000, going a mile and 8 for fillies, 3-year-olds, of course. In Haltram, we got a field of 9, and it's very similar, trio at least of horses that ran in the Kentucky Oaks. You got the Torpedo Anna, who ran away with that thing late in the race. You got Just FYI, who looked like a winner maybe at the top of the stretch. And then you've got Leslie's Rose, who put away Just FYI in the race prior to that and just absolutely did not run a step that day in the Oaks. And they got the rematch here, a mile and 8, Saratoga. We'll see what the race kind of conditions look like. I don't know about you. Well, I know about you, but I know in general, like I'm just kind of planning for a normal track and to see what happens, right? Because the weather's been all over the place, and when the timing of it might unfold, who knows? But first things first. I mean, again, it's not, you don't have to really reinvent the wheel here because you have the same horses. We saw them all match up.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, we saw them match up at the same distance as we're going to see here as well. So that's another aspect of it. Look, I was on Just FYI in the Oaks, and I certainly thought she ran well. I wasn't disappointed with her effort, but she really wasn't close to Torpedo Anna. She kind of just put her away. And to me, it's like, okay, how can we make it up? Like where can we make it up to where maybe now Just FYI can turn the tables? And to be quite honest, I don't see it. I think the only thing that might, maybe on a dry track, it might be different, but God, at the end of the day, I tried to beat Torpedo Anna, and it's just like, if she runs that race she ran in the Oaks, or even the race she ran at Oaklawn in the Fantasy, either one of those races gonna be pretty easy, right? Like she's gonna romp. I mean, that's kind of how I looked at it. And again, I'll be a little pissed off. It's just FYI wins from a standpoint of I'll use her in multis, but I just don't think she can turn the tables. So I went with Torpedo Anna. I think she's going to be awfully tough to beat if she can repeat that effort.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's man. I kind of went into it. I went into it saying, well, I can't. It's against my religion, right? To play McPeak at a short price. I just simply don't do it. But there are instances where you have to, and I mean, listen, my fear with just FYI is that, we've seen her twice now. And again, she hasn't really ran poorly, but we've seen her twice this year. And it just, I'm wondering if maybe we have, she hasn't quite, if she hasn't quite developed all the way, or if she maybe is a little bit where she was at last year as well. Like she's ran 2 good races and hasn't necessarily been super close to winning either one of them. Now she ran second, but she got beat by better horses on those days. And so I'm just wondering, what is it going to take for her to kind of, in the Ashland, she obviously ran into a horse, Leslie Rose, who ran incredible. And then the same thing goes with the Torpedo Anna. Difference is, I just think Torpedo Anna is the better horse, period. And it's going to take, just FYI, I could definitely win. No doubt about it, because she's consistent. She runs kind of her race each and every time. She's obviously she's got a Hall of Fame trainer in Belmont. But if Torpedo Anna, like you kind of mentioned, if she runs that race, or really, let's be honest, the fantasy race too, they're going to have a hard time beating her.
That's where I landed. I just could not get around her. Yeah, just FYI, I thought about it and I toyed with it. At the end of the day, I just thought, maybe she's just not quite as good as Torpedo Anna, and that's it. And the other thing is, I think the one question here is, can Leslie's Rose bounce back? She ran a race that's pretty darn fast at Keeneland, and she really hasn't ran any other ones that are that fast. But if she could bring her Keeneland race, maybe she could kind of turn the tables. But boy, when she's off, Jared, she's really bad. And that last race, I don't know what happened. And really, the Gulfstream down at Gulfstream, that race before the Ashland was
the Devonadale,
just terrible race. So she's wildly inconsistent. Maybe she can bounce back, but even if she does, can she beat Torpedo Anna? I don't think so.
Yeah, that. I think you and I, well, not just you and I, a lot of people, but kind of thought, well, we kind of know what she is. She's not that good. And then the Ashland happened. You're like, well, maybe she is, like that, because it was impressive. Like it was, the numbers came back strong. It was visually very impressive. Nothing really about it that was like didn't seem real. And so then your best guess, she's ran poorly, but not as poorly in the Oaks. She had to have not liked the track. That's really the only excuse, especially the fact that they fired her right back here. So if she were to run the Ashland, she's in with a chance, no doubt about it. I honestly would probably, as far as a value perspective, because I just kind of feel like we've seen Just FYI run her race twice now and get beat. And so if there's a horse that's going to beat Torpedo Anna, maybe it is Leslie's Rose if she were to run that race, because just FYI, those and Torpedo Anna are going to be easily, the 2 choices here of this race. They're going to be bet very hard. I don't hate just the idea of backing it up again and playing another Torpedo Anna over Just FYI. Exactly. I just kind of feels like the 2 best horses of the race. But Leslie's Rose could be an issue as far as kind of screwing that up.
Don't you think you could make a real solid case that both those horses might run better this time? Last time out was their 2nd race off the layoff. This is their 3rd race off the layoff. They might just simply show up and run better and run away from them and have another race by themselves a little bit. So I'm with you. I think if you wanted to run back the Oaks, I think it makes sense, especially now, with the setup, the distance of this race is the 1 1/8. But before, when it's run at Belmont, it hasn't been. It's been a little shorter. So, yeah, to me, it makes a lot of sense. There's really no reason to think neither one of them aren't going to show up. They've had ample rest. Like some of their male counterparts, they did not run that middle leg. And I mean, I really think it's just going to be a showdown between those two. I'm with you. I'm really on the 4 and the 9, and I think everybody else has got to elevate their game to get to them.
All right, so we've kind of mentioned obviously the three horses that the main ones, but who's someone else in here, whether it be a new shooter or maybe we're in the Oaks and didn't run well, whatever. Who's someone else that could really either maybe not win, but you're interested in underneath or should outrun their odds even because again there is opportunity here to juice up an exacta or a try because these main contenders are going to be bet so hard in here.
Yeah, I think Power Squeeze or Regulatory Risk, those are two horses I would look at as a little bit of a long shot. You had Power Squeeze who just did not show up after running up a big winning streak, didn't show up at the Oaks at all. So maybe just, didn't like the surface that day. She could bounce back. And then Regulatory Risk, that's just a horse that seems to be a hit the board type. We kind of, kind of like just name a ton. Red Route 1 would be an example of one that's like, winning a race, it's kind of tough for them to do, but hitting the board, that's something they could do. They run those type of races. So Regulatory Risk kind of fits that for me. So those are the two at a bigger price that I'm kind of looking at and saying, maybe they can get up there and at least hit the board.
One that I looked at quite a bit underneath that could maybe I wouldn't say again. I'd be pretty surprised if she's strong. Got an upset here, but went off at 11-1 in the Oaks, and that's the 6. Where's my ring? Just simply, had steady. Didn't had just a terrible trip on top of probably not liking the track too much either. But had won the Gazelle and did it very impressively. Had ran well out at Santa Anita prior to that. So it's like I think this horse is obviously way better than what we saw in the Kentucky Oaks. I think there's worse horses to play underneath. Especially I think the 1.8 mile distance will be we've seen her win obviously at this distance as well. Been working well, looks like. So to me, she's one that I think that could, if this thing gets weird up front and maybe a couple of these horses get hung out wide or we get into some sort of speed setup. She's one that kind of has shown in the past that she can sit off a little bit and then maybe pick up a piece or two down late in the. Hey, Kevin likes it too. There you go.
I agree. I think that's another bounce back angle from the Kentucky Oaks. You kind of look at that field, and that seems to be what happens, and that kind of thing. So, the sloppy track also adds to the bounce back factor of okay, maybe if we get a dry track, the horse will run better. So I get it. Another one, like I said, hit the board type. I think all of them, again, though, that we're talking about, will have to elevate their game to get up to those top couple.
Yeah, I guess there's a good question here. Who is, because the Torpedo Anna obviously went gate to wire in the Kentucky Oaks, but prior to that, in the fantasy, she kind of set off. She drew wide for starters, like similar to where she's drawn here, and then she kind of set off and then pounced, and then it was over. So I think with her, you aren't too worried about, and we'll talk about that in the next race a little bit as well, but you're not too worried with her as far as, she needs to get the lead if she doesn't break well or if someone tries to go. Like, I think she can set a very tactical race. But who would you expect would be on the lead? Maybe at the, when they hit the backstretch, is it the 6? Where's my ring? A horse that's shown speed. Is it Regulatory Risk? A horse that's been on the lead in past races or at least close to it? Who are you kind of expecting to dictate things, or do you think it's 9 again? Do you think to be Anna, they say, hey, you know what, it worked in the Oaks, we're not going to mess around with it, probably just better and faster than the rest of them?
Well, I think the two horses that have speed, I think the 8, I think the 9, I think the 7, I think the 6. So I think it's all drawn to the outside. I think it's just going to depend on who breaks the best and then kind of who wants it. I think with Brian Hernandez, he'll kind of have that option to see what's happening to his inside. And if nobody goes, she's taking it. I really believe that. And then, like I said, if one or two of them go, she'll just sit right there. I know she's drawn outside. I really don't think she will be sitting all that wide, though. I think she'll be able to outrun a couple of those horses I just mentioned, and she'll either be on the lead or sitting there in second. If I had to get, I think Gunsong is probably the one that might go to the front. maybe that's the one, but it's going to be one of those 4. I don't really think it's going to matter too much. I think all of them have speed, but don't have to go way fast. You know what I mean? Like they all can be in front, but they don't have to be in front. So I think you'll have horses kind of on or near the lead, but I don't think they're going to be flying.
Yeah, which should set you up, like you say, won't be flying. Should set up to be. Shouldn't expect an insane speed duel, really by any. Because again, like I think most of these horses or jockeys, and they understand like, hey, if we don't get to the lead, that's fine. Like so you're not going to have like anyone that's like, we gotta go. You mentioned the 8 Gunsong a little bit. Seen it a few times in here. Are you a believer in that last effort? This is a horse that just ran lights out really in the Black Eyed Susan. The number didn't come back super strong. That would be my concern. Gulfstream Park Oaks kind of got smoked to Power Squeeze that you mentioned in that race. And, but the horse has kind of gone back and forth.
I bet her big in the Black Eyed Susan. I thought she was a no doubt winner of that race, and she was able to get it done. I have less than 0 interest in her here. The Black Eyed Susan overall was one of the worst races maybe ever for that running. She did run extremely well. I'll give her credit, and I was very happy with her effort. Obviously, that day, this is a whole nother level. These horses in this race, all of them probably would have won. Well, not all, but at least half of them would have won the Black Eyed Susan like that, right?
Yeah.
So was thrilled with her last time. I'm not thrilled. I mean, I would be surprised. I guess I'm not going to use her. I would be surprised. If maybe she gets 3rd or something like that. Maybe not surprised, but this is a whole big time step up.
One thing I was thinking about today when I was handicapping this race today is with Leslie's Rose is she's I mean, again, more of a less of a sample size, but not that much difference where she's a little bit like her stablemate Fierceness in a sense that she's ran really impressive races and really kind of pathetic races. And they're at least so far, other than that first race, but even the first race, like she was incredible. The next race she won, but it wasn't, we kind of were like, well, she's not the star we thought she was, right? And then she didn't run well in the Devona Dale, obviously. Ran amazing in the Ashland. Didn't run well at all in the Oaks. So she's been one that maybe hasn't been exactly every other race similar to Fierceness, but it has been one that on her good days has looked like a kind of a somewhat superstar. Obviously, she's a $1.1 million horse. And other days seems like, like Fierceness in the Kentucky Derby. So it's like she is. I kind of had that when I was going through handicapping. I was like, damn it, she is a little bit like Fierceness.
Yeah, she is. And she's been weird. She's been a weird horse, like you said. And I was, after her allowance win, she ran, I thought, she's not much. And then, backed it up with a really bad effort. And I was like, she's just not that good. And then shows up and runs that race at Keeneland. And you're like, well, I don't know. So I think at the end of the day, though, I don't think her ceiling's quite as high as Fierceness. I don't think she can raise her game to that kind of level. But I mean, are you going to be shocked if she wins? No, but I don't trust her enough.
Well, dude, she was sub even money in those 2 races prior. And then the Ashland, she's almost 10-1 and wins. So it's like, and then she's 7-1 in the Oaks and just gets annihilated. So she is just a impossible horse to, I don't know. I mean,
if you remember the Devona Dale, that was the race that just FYI scratched out of. And so that horse scratched. And then that race was left with nothing because her and just FYI, that's all that entered. And she just didn't run where the dam. It was awful.
I'm with you. I kind of thought, wow, she's bad. Like after when you combined that with the allowance race that even though she won, you were kind of like, yeah, that wasn't awesome.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, she's not very good. And then we go to Kentucky to watch, well, not really watch her, but watched her, and she looked awesome. So I thought, well, maybe she'll win the Oaks now. No, can't do it. So, yeah. All right. So give me your final pick and final thoughts on the race real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Torpedo Anna. I think this horse is going to be awfully tough again, unfortunately, and not unfortunately. I shouldn't say it like that because unfortunately, last time she was that good is what I meant, and I think this time I'm on her, so I think she'll be good again. Though I think, it's just to me she kind of separated herself from this division with that Kentucky Oaks win.
Well, not like it's like take us like if you just kind of look at her and forget about whether you like McPeak or not, but has been somewhat of an inconsistent trainer. But just look at her past performances. Just look at her body of work. I mean, dude, the Goldenrod, which by the way, she's a 2-year-old in November, but prior, she's never even gotten close to losing.
Yeah,
I mean, eight links on her debut, 9 links in the allowance race. The fantasy, she wins by 4 off of the big layoff. And then she wins the Oaks by 4, almost 5 links.
yeah.
So it's just, I mean, I think it's like if she would have, if all her races would have been, even if she would have won all the races I was talking about, but it was, half a length, a nose, and just kind of, and then she did that in the Oaks, you'd be like, well, but dude, she is just, it just seems like not only is she better than everyone else in this race, but I'm not just saying this, look at on paper, she's getting better. Each race has gotten a little better.
And the other thing of it is, if she had Brown, Pletcher, Baffert go down the list by her name, you wouldn't even be. You would have taken about 2 seconds to handicap this race. So,
yep.
That to me, like, at the end of the day, I kept going back and I'm like, look, you're just being dumb here. You've seen it. She's better than these horses. She's just got to come up and try to and not try, but run that race again. And if she does, they probably can't beat her.
Well, I don't do it very often. I almost never, but I will be taking McPeak here as a favorite, and that is the 9 Torpedo Anna to win the Acorn on Friday. Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'll be honest. I went into it just because I'm not going to pick. Obviously, I'm not picking McPeak as a favorite, so just bypass her basically and just look. And then I'm like, well, kind of like you just said, like, you idiot, like. She's better than everybody else.
Yeah, she is, and I wanted to really pick just FYI because she does kind of have a feel that horse. It's like, look, she ran really well, and she'll probably turn the tables today, and she could, but at the end of the day, it's just like, yeah, there's just not enough reasons for me to go with her after what we saw. So
we've seen 2 races. I mean, again, like one was on the layoff, the other one was on a track that you could argue was, awful. Well, not argue, it was awful.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be like, well, yeah, maybe. Just, I don't know. It just feels like maybe. Because you remember, like, when she won 2-year-old champion, it was almost like she had won, at the Breeders' Cup. But it still was just like, well, she's kind of the best just by default, right? Because these other horses really aren't that good right now. And so you it kind of feels like we went into this year with that same notion, and it's like, okay, now I need to be a little careful here because I do think there are better horses than her.
Yep.
All right, let's move to Saturday. That's right, the main event at Saratoga, race number 12, the Belmont Stakes, Grade 1, where $2 million going 1.25 miles. That's right, 1.25 miles. It's not your typical 1.5 miles, but it is at Saratoga. We don't have a Triple Crown on the line, so I don't want to hear the bitching. But it's going to be a hell of a race because very similar to the Oaks, you have, the Acorn and the Oaks comparison, you have the Derby winner in Mystic Dan. You have Sierra Leone, the second place finisher of the race, who could have won. Maybe you could argue that, right? I think we can all agree that. And by the way, you have the Preakness winner in Caesar Gray as well. Yep. So you have the first 2 legs winners in here. You have Sierra Leone. And you have a horse that Mind Frame that, Todd Pletcher's won this race four times. And not only has he got that, he's got 3 horses in the race, Antiquarian and Protective, the maiden. But, Fiercest Deciding or whatever they decided to do there or the reasons behind that. But Mind Frame is, quote unquote, their horse in the race. So you've got, as far as this year goes, Halterman, Forever Young, I guess, would be the only horse that's not in this race of the group that you'd be like, I wish that horse would have been in here. But other than that, you kind of get everything you want here. And by the way, it's not the 1.5 miles, so it's a little bit more of a quote unquote fair classic distance, right? The 1.25 miles. We get to see him line up again. What do you think?
Yeah, this is awesome. It's everything you would want, and yeah, it's gonna be a very good race. I think this is gonna be a way more competitive race than some people might think. But this is just what you would want. I mean, the Triple Crown would be the biggest thing if that was on the line. But if you're not getting it, I mean, this is a who's who, and you just read it off right there. Quickly, it is going to be at 1.25 miles. It's basically because they tried to maybe make a chute at the top of the stretch but they couldn't build it because it was going to hit the road that sits right there by the track. So they basically had to make a decision: are we going to start the race on a turn, which you cannot do that, or are we just going to run it at 1.25 miles? So here we are at this distance. That being said, I'm not sure that. I don't think it's going to play a huge factor this year. I think all these horses, might still be in the Belmont anyway, even if it was at 1.5 miles. To me, it's all going to come down to the pace. I feel like there should be a decent amount of pace in the race. When you think about Seize the Gray, you got to think he's going, especially when he draws the rail. You got to think he's going. You have to think Dornoch's going. The only chance he has to win, based on his past performances, is get to the front. Well, you got to send him, and he should be able to get there. Mind frame drawn the outside. You think he's going to go? I think it's going to speed it up, and I think if it's fast up front, I don't think they're holding off number 9 Sierra Leone. I put Sierra Leone on top.
Yeah, listen, he's the most logical winner. And I'm the only reason why I'm not playing him on top. I mean, I'm going to use him in everything. But the only reason I'm not picking him on top is he's going to be, really, but that's the problem with a lot of these three, at least Mindframe and Sierra Leone is they're going to be lower than I would like, right? To bet. They're going to be bet hard, but they probably should be as well. Yeah, he listen, if you talk about a horse, it's like the most, who can you count on? And I even said it before the Derby. Who can you count on? It's him, right? He's going to bring it. He'll show up. He almost, you sometimes wonder if he can quite get there. He has that issue with lugging in. But you have Pratt, the jockey switch here, and Chad Brown didn't hold any punches after the Derby. Like he let it. This is why we're switching. And listen, he should have won. He runs straight. He probably wins the race. And, whether you want to blame Gaffione or not, he's a horse that could be coming into this race at the very least as a Derby winner. So, by all means, he deserves to be 9-5. Now, I do want to put something I'm seeing in the chat. And you can, if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. But I don't see why people think Dornoch is some lightning bolt fast horse. Yes, he needs to get to the lead, have a chance, but I don't think he's going to skirt away and have this thing on his own. Seize the Gray is going to put everything to him. Mind frame, I think will have zero issues putting any pressure on him. Maybe I'm too hard. Wine Steward, by the way, is another horse that's going to be forwardly placed at the very least. I don't know. I don't. I guess maybe I don't. Maybe I'm a little too hard on Dornoch, but I just don't see any past performances and numbers from him that would show that this is a horse that gets to the lead and they're all running. They're all going to be running behind him for second.
I think my thing with Dornoch is we have seen him not get the lead and just be horrible. So for me, I don't think he's lightning fast either, but I think you have to ride him aggressively, right? That, and that's more what I'm counting on. We've seen what happens when he doesn't get the lead. You got to send him out of there. And I think he's fast enough to run with Seize the Gray, who I don't think is a burner either, but I think they're very similar, but I think they're going to get into a battle with each other. And that's probably the thing, right? If they kind of knock heads, it is going to set it up for some of the other ones. And they're just two very logical horses to go out to the front with each other. But I'm with you. I don't think Dornoch is going to go out there and run just a blazing pace, but I do think he can put pressure on Seize the Gray, where last time Imagination and Frankie Dettori, they just decided they were not going to put pressure on Seize the Gray.
Yeah, and also sit 10 wide the whole way around too. So there was that as well. Okay, let's go to the kind of the elephant in the room, so to speak, with the 10 mind frame. This is the horse we all thought we'd see. Well, honestly, a week and a half ago, it was definitely going to be Fierceness versus Sierra Leone and who maybe Mystic Dan, whoever. Now it's not Fierceness. Now it's mind frame, and not only that, you got two other ones to talk about. But really, mind frame is the horse that's coming in here, the undefeated horse, 2 wins. Has kind of won both of them, not kind of, has won both of them in kind of a lights out fashion. Draws outside, gets Irad, it's Pletcher. We know what Pletcher can do in this race. But, you go back and you watch that last race. It was on the undercard of the Derby day. He was out wide there that day as well. And dude, in a second, he was in the lead. And before they even got to the turn, this horse was up there in front. And then after that, it was over. So I'm not really concerned, especially with Sierra Leone and Honor Marie, just to his inside. Like, those are horses that are going to, shouldn't come out of the gate too awfully fast. So I don't necessarily think he's going to have any issues. Obviously, you have the long stretch there as well. But I guess first, what do you think of him in general? Like, where did you kind of end up with him? And two, like, do you think he's going to try to get to the lead? Do you think he's just, being that he's drawn outside of Dornick, drawn outside of Caesar Gray, drawn outside of really all the speed, really? Do you think he's going to be able to kind of, Ira will be like, you know what, like, we can sit the trip we need here?
It's going to depend on what's happening to his inside. If he, if they're not aggressive and he can get the lead, I think he'll take it. But I think it's more likely he sits in second or third and sits off the 1 and the 6 who should be going. So that's kind of my thought on it. I would be surprised if he's on the lead based on what I think the other 2 horses that we've mentioned to his inside are going to do. I think he's going to sit more in that stalking trip. I think he does have enough speed to get over before the first turn to where he's not really wide. I would be really shocked if he's like 5 or 6 wide, because I think he can clear those other horses. And yeah, to me, I think there's no doubt they're going to be running a lot faster up front, and it's just going to be a matter of him, can he take the dirt? Can he sit off of it? Will he relax? Stuff like that. He's going to have a new challenge when it comes to all that kind of stuff. But I don't expect him to be on the lead unless it's a pretty slow pace up front.
Yeah, one thing that I keep seeing a lot with him, and again, like he has to run a race that he's going to have to improve, because obviously he's ran 2 races and neither one were stakes, and not certainly against anything close to this. So he's going to have to make another step up in order to compete here. But I kind of sometimes feel like when some people watch these races and they, like, especially the allowance race in particular, is like, well, he wasn't really, it was an easy trip, or he wasn't moving that fast. Like, it wasn't really that impressive. And it's like, well, I mean, he won by like 8, like sometimes I think we can be a little too critical of a horse that did everything. What you want him to do? Right. I saw a horse that never really got out of first gear in that race. And so sometimes I feel like but I do agree with the comment was, but like, what do you do with him? Because we really don't know visually his numbers. 103 Bayer on debut, 97 the next race. His numbers compete right there with everybody else in the race, but he hasn't really had any issues with whether it be with being tested, because he hasn't faced anything.
Yeah. I think you don't know what he is until he runs in a race like this to find out. I think to assume that he can't do it is kind of not right either, because you just don't know. I think like you said, you kind of mentioned it, he's the wild card factor. I mean, he could be a very, very freakish type of horse. And if he is, he will win. He will be able to, be fine and get accustomed to the new situation. He's not, walking on the front end, but he's walking, and he's letting the other horses that are going faster do that. And then he'll accelerate like normal. I mean, that's something that the elite horses can do. And I think it does trick people at times. They look at every horse kind of the same. It's like, well, yeah, he did this, or he or she did this, but then when they face better, they'll be in the same exact spot, and then they'll be going 2 seconds faster and they'll fade. Well, the great horses, if they get into a race where it's way faster up front than when they set the pace and one gate the wire, you know what the great horses do? They let the horses go fast and they run the same exact race they did, only they're sitting in 4th or 5th instead of on the lead. That's the key to me, because the bottom line is if he's having to go 46 to the half and he's flying, yeah, he is sped up quite a bit and it's going to probably beat him. But if they go 46 to the half and he still runs a 48 and he's just 3 lengths off, but he's just kind of cruising and waiting, well, then what does it really matter, right? So that's what we have to learn about him in this race. The problem I have with him, you would love to see him first time out against better horses in a little bit easier of a spot, right? This is throwing him into the deep end of the pool. Sometimes they swim, sometimes they sink, and he is all or nothing for me written all over him. He's either going to be all, and I think he'll win, and it may not be close, or he's nothing and he's off the board completely. I think that's what he is. I don't really view him as unless he runs just a valiant second and gets beat late. I don't see him as a second or third place horse. I see him as a winner where he's off the board. That's how I'm going to play him. I'm going to have him on every ticket on the multis. I'm going to have him off the exactas.
He's like his his stablemate, the horse that was going to run in here, a little bit of fierceness in him, where it's like, well, like he's either going to win for fun and win easily, or it's going to be, why? I mean, really, I got fooled on fierceness on the Derby, and now I got fooled on mind frame here.
One thing I'll say, I think he hasn't been as inconsistent. It's only been 2 races, but he ran 2 huge races back to back, so that's better. But honestly, the thing that bothers me, this was not what Pletcher said they were going to do with him. All right. They said, we're going to take the Haskell route. And I think to me, that meant Pletcher wants to progress him, get him to the Haskell, get that win. That would have been his 4th race, because they were going to run in the Pegasus Stakes there at Monmouth as a prep, and just kind of ease him along, big win. And now we're ready for the next huge step after that. Instead, it's like we're going maiden against nobody, allowance against nobody. And again, he can only beat who they line him up. That's not the horse's fault, right? But it's the facts. Now we're taking on Sierra Leone, Mystic Dan, Seize the Gray, horses of high caliber. And that's where the question mark comes in. If he would have been in the Pegasus, he would have been 1-9. And then if he would have went to the Haskell, if he would have won the Pegasus, he would have been a really short price. Now you got that question mark. Okay, we're going to find out real quick just how good he is.
Well, I mean, and like you said, like we're going to find it like there's no other option now. There's not.
Nope.
Let's ease him into it. Let's not forget too, this, last year we saw a horse in Arcangelo come in and win this race, and, a little different. He had won the Peter Pan, but he had just won his maiden special weight race prior to that, finally got himself going there, and then went on to win, of course, the Travers as well. So, we've seen similar routes where it's like, kind of an up and comer, boom, steps up, takes him on. But again, that horse the Belmont was his 5th start, so, I mean, he had a little more season, even though it hadn't won the first couple of races. But no, I mean, listen, I'll probably be using just the 2 horses, Mind Frame and Sierra Leone. That's the way I kind of view it.
Yeah.
I from a logical standpoint, if you told me that Mind Frame and Sierra Leone are the exact same odds, then I'm going Sierra Leone. So we'll see how the betting is dictated, but just I'd assume that Mind Frame is going to be 5-2 range ish. And, obviously Sierra Leone, he might be 6-5, honestly. Might be even money even. So, I mean, it just depends on how much Mystic Dan play there is, how much Seize the Gray. I think it helps Sierra Leone a bit, don't you, that you have the Derby and the Preakness winner in here?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think he's still going to get bet down from that number, but I don't think it's going to be quite as low as what people are projecting, because they just haven't went that low. Horses just haven't went that low in these big races. Could be off for sure. But man, I think from a betting standpoint, this is a really good race. As far as I've got a pretty good feel on who these horses are and how to play them. I may not get the winner right. Sierra Leone definitely could get beat. I wouldn't be shocked. And if it's Mind Frame, I wouldn't be shocked. But I know how to play Sierra Leone. I know how to play Mind Frame. At least, going in, you get that feeling of, okay, I've got a pretty good idea what to do with these horses. But yeah, to your question, I mean, Sierra Leone kind of feels like he's going to be like 6-5, but I really bet he's not. I think the money will get spread out. I think he'll be closer to 8-5, and I think that's good enough. And look, I mean, I think Mind Frame's pretty short at 7-2, but if he wins by 4, that's not short, right? And I mean, I think out of all the horses, he is the only one that I could see just blowing the doors off of them. But again, I do think he's an all or nothing type.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of envision with him, it's like he's either going to win, like kind of similar to the Bluegrass, where it's like he could finally see him motoring down the lane, and like, oh, here he comes. He's like, even though he only won by 1.5 or whatever, it's like you knew, like he's coming. He's coming. He's going to run right by them all. So I could see that very possibly being the case, and whether it be Mind Frame, whether it be, Dornock or whoever, that sees the gray, Mystic Dan, whoever it is, like he's going to be having he'll be running by him. So I think I do kind of envision that that's a very likely scenario. But let's talk about the two horses that could take some money from the betting on Sierra Leone, and that is, of course, your Derby winner and runner-up in the Preakness, Mystic Dan, and of course your Preakness winner in Caesar Gray. Which one of those two do you think is going to run better here?
I can't believe I'm saying. I think Seize the Gray. Man, I don't know. The more I kind of looked at this, I thought, if he runs back to that Preakness race, he'll be pretty tough. And you kind of said it on Monday on the draw show. When Lucas gets them right, there's like a small little window where they can kind of repeat and then they drop off. And this may not be the drop up spot. That may be coming.
Yeah.
I kind of think Seize the Gray is going to outrun Mystic Dan here. I
would kind of rather ride that until I get bucked off versus just assuming that horse is not going to run that race again.
Exactly. And I think there's a world where he gets a very similar, if not exact same trip. Like, what if he breaks well, gets the lead, Dornock sucks, like he kind of sucks, and all of a sudden he's out there, Seize the Gray's kind of out there and Mind Frame's kind of tracking him. And sure, maybe he can't hold off Mind Frame, or maybe he can't hold off Sierra Leone, but who's to say he's not going to outrun the rest of them? I mean, I just kind of, the more I looked at that race, I thought, well, he got a great trip, but he also ran a great race. I don't know. I just feel like, and again, I'm not playing Seize the Gray on top of anything. And I'm, maybe I'm going to have him maybe on a pick 5 ticket, but probably like the shorter pick 3s or doubles, I'm not going to have him in it. So I'm not trying to say he's going to win or anything like that, but I think he'll outrun Mystic Dan, and I think he's going to outrun a few other ones too.
Is it weird to think that, like, I almost feel like if you're talking between the two, Mystic Dan and Caesar Gray, that if you're going to make me pick one that I think could win, it's Caesar Gray. But for me, the horse who I like between the two that I think, like, I could at least think is going to has a higher percentage to run top 3 is Mystic Dan. Is that weird? Like, I just kind of feel like Mystic Dan has been kind of shown that he's a pretty decent horse, that he's been consistent. The Southwest, the Smarty Jones, the Southwest, the Arkansas Derby even ran 3rd. Of course, there's a distant 3rd to Muth and Just Still, but, even in the Preakness showed me a lot that he was a tired horse. You could tell he was a tired horse, and he still tried everything he could to win that thing. And so really the only question mark for you is like, is he tired? And you could say the same thing about Caesar Gray.
Yeah, I think the Derby was a lot harder race than the Pat Day Mile. So that'd be my kickback. And
yeah, that's fair.
Honestly, I don't totally I think with both of them, and I don't think it's a knock on the trainers or the horses, either one. I think with both Caesar Gray and Mystic Dan, the cliff is coming.
Oh yeah.
You can't keep doing this over and over and over. The cliff is coming where they enter a race and you're like, where in the hell were they? Did they ever get a call? And again, I'm not even trying to be negative, and I really like both the horses, and I'm not saying I want it to happen. I'm just saying realistically, the cliff's coming. And it could be this race, it could be the next race. I do know 3 races in 5 weeks. We've kind of seen that pattern before, and it's that 3rd race where they kind of fall off a little bit, and maybe that is the case with both of them. And look, that's why I'm not putting either one of them on top, because they've got to be a little tired. You do have that fresh horse of Sierra Leone sitting there, and then you do have Mindframe, who could be anything as well. So wouldn't be shocked either one of them win, but I'm not going to play very much with them. Like I said, deep exotic or a deep on the multis on a pick 5 maybe, and that's about it.
Yeah, guys, in the comments, let me know some of these other horses you'd like us to talk about. I'll kind of run through each of them, and we can jump on one or two here in more detail. But the one, like some of the comments as far as the way I was handicapping this was like, for half a second I thought, Resilience is interesting here because he didn't run terrible in the Derby. Then I went back and watched the Derby. He really had a nice trip. Considering he drew his 18th spot, but he had a nice trip, dude. And honestly, for half a second, if you listen to Larry Coleman's call, he thought he was in the lead for most of the stretch, but he was right there for half a second. Like he made a move. He reared up there. Like he looked like the horse that won the Wood, really. Yeah. And then just hit a wall of all walls that day. And so that was my concern with Resilience. The Wine Steward, and you can comment on these after I go through them, but with the Wine Steward, it kind of feels like nice horse. Not sure he's good enough to win a race like this, but look at him, dude. First place 3 straight times to kick off his career, and then second place races to kick off the next 3. And then he got beat by Locked, Encino, and Antiquarian. Antiquarian on the end, you have him in the fantasy league. This is a horse that I think if you just scratched out the Louisiana Derby, which he acted like a moron before the race, he might be the pletcher you should be the most concerned about as far as beating you here. So I think he's very interesting at a big price at 12-1. Kind of mentioned what I think about Dornick. I don't see it. Maybe he gets a piece of it, holds on for late, but I don't see it. Protective. He's been a very consistent horse. I thought the Peter Pan, he should have possibly won the race. He had a little bit of just seems like a horse that doesn't want to win, and that would make sense because he is a maiden. And then Honor Marie. Honestly, dude, I wanted to like him more here. I'll be really honest with you. I really wanted to. And then I kind of watched it back, and I know he had a terrible. You talk about pinball, man. This horse got pinballed 6 times out of the gate. Just got annihilated. Went straight to the back. He made a little run, but honestly, he stopped real hard too. I just don't know that he's quite good enough here.
I don't know that he ever was that good. It were my reason for.
Also, by the way, Curtis said it. I'm a little worried about this too.
Well, I think a lot of Honor Marie's problem is he's just not that like top level good. We just haven't seen it. And I know like, he ran well here and he ran well here, but he just, other than that big 2-year-old win, it's just, I haven't seen it like that big race from him. Now, the other thing is, if you're going to take a closer, I just don't know how you don't take Sierra Leone over him, unless you're going to play them both. You think, hey, pace meltdown, I'll play them both. That makes sense. But if I'm going to take a closer, I'm taking Sierra Leone. It's just that simple. And I really think with Flavian Pratt aboard, I think it's a upgrade. And I think he rides closers very, very well in the dirt, and I think he'll make a difference on this horse. I really do. So, I thought Sierra Leone was a little better. Some of the other ones,
that maybe Catching Freedom isn't as good as some of these others, right?
I think Catching Freedom is average in terms of a grade 1 type, right?
Right, and he went by Honor Marie that day,
right?
I was kind of comparing those two a little bit, and then the Preakness, I was like, okay, he's not that good. He's good, but he's not. Right to these horses. So I think that's also a concern if you like Honor Marie.
I agree. Now, some of the other ones you mentioned, Resilience, that's one where if he was to win, I would be a little bit upset because I do kind of like him, but I don't believe in him enough. Obviously, I don't believe in him enough. I'm not going to use him. The Wine Steward, I don't believe in. I just don't. Antiquarian, I've seen a lot of people in the chat like him. I don't know. Like, he seems just a little cut below to me.
I'm kind of with you. I went back and obviously I watched all the races, but the Peter Pan, you're like, yeah, that was nice. Like, I'm glad he won. Like, that was good, but I don't know. Like, he didn't exactly run away with it, you know. I think he's a nice horse. But honestly, I almost like Protective a little bit more than him as far as from price standpoints. Assuming Antiquarian gets bet down, which I kind of assume he's going to. But
Yeah.
I think from underneath perspective, Protective is somewhat interesting to be the maiden that obviously can't win. But, you know, he runs, you know, in the Wood, he ran third. In the Peter Pan, he ran third. It kind of doesn't matter. This competition, it looks like he kind of runs third, second or third every time.
Yeah.
All right. So give me, let's see. Give me your final thoughts, your pick and your final thoughts on the race.
Yeah, I'm going to go number 9, Sierra Leone. I just feel like it's his race to lose, honestly. And I think he's the most consistent horse. And as dumb as this might be to say, horses 1 through 8, I'm really not worried about. I think Sierra Leone's better than them. And I think they can, he'll beat them. I think Mindframe is a scary one because and I don't know. And again, he could run last, and I wouldn't be shocked he could win, and I wouldn't be shocked he's that type. But he does have some freakish look to him, and I think he could beat Sierra Leone. I really think if Sierra Leone runs well, gets the trip, 1 through 8's not beating him. So I went Sierra Leone on top. I put Mindframe in second because I do have a lot of respect for him as well. But I just think the more established horse, the more of the known commodity here is Sierra Leone. So I went with him.
Yeah, I'm pretty similar, really. Well, very similar with you. I'm just flip-flopping the two. So I've got Mindframe on top. I am drinking the Kool-Aid with him. And then I've got Sierra Leone, who I think is just as, you know, as far as this crop goes anyways, is just, you know, as true as they come. I mean, he's going to bring his race each and every time. He hasn't shown a race where he hasn't. I mean, even his 2 losses were by noses to Dornoch, by the way, in the Rimson and then the Kentucky Derby. So, I mean, it's like he's never not shown up. He's ran in the 90 buyers 4 straight efforts. He's just, as like I say, it can't, like, he's as consistent as they come. Now, the concern is he good enough to, I mean, if Mindframe is that good, is he good enough to win this race? You know, I'm pretty much with you in the terms of like, well, you know, if this race was the Derby, for instance, well, he got beat. But I mean, like he's got a little advantage here against some of the Seize the Grays and the Mystic Dans who have been running, right? So you've got he's fresh. So is Mindframe, you know, and so we'll see. I'm gonna go Mindframe. I think he's gonna sit a nice trip, and Sierra Leone, I'm probably gonna play that exacta cold. Just spoiler alert. I don't want to waste too much money underneath, and I'm gonna go all in on the 10 over 9. But listen, I think regardless, this should shape up to being a really good race.
Mm-hmm. It's intriguing. I mean, because we're not picking Seize the Gray or Mystic Dan, but if they win, that means they've won 2 out of the 3 legs, and Seize the Gray would have won on Derby Day and then Preakness and Belmont. So
yeah.
It is intriguing. And look, if Sierra Leone wins, the narrative will be, well, he probably was the best horse, and now he got the big win that he needed, so he's number 1, but it's a soft number 1. And then if Mindframe wins, let the hype begin. What a just crazy ascension to the top.
And what a weird, just a weird kind of like, well, he's not even like he went from, like when it happened the day of, like moments after, it's like, well, there's a Belmont winner, forget it. And then it went from, well, we're not even going to point to that. Like, forget it. Like, that's when I'm in the realm. And then it's like, now Fierce is out and he's, you know, the second choice. So it is a weird way, especially if, like you say, if he were to win. You know, I do think there's something to be said with, you know, this is kind of, you know, Brian mentioned it a little bit on the reaction of the draw. It's like if Bob Baffert is Mr. Derby, this is Mr. Belmont with Todd Pletcher. I mean, he knows how to win this race. He knows how to win this race with horses that maybe shouldn't, or horses that are you know, took a break from after the Derby or whatever. He's won it 4 times, and you know who hasn't won the race? Chad Brown. You know, he's yet to, just like the Derby. You know, and he's still hot about that because he probably should have won it. But you know, so I think there's something to be said with that as well. You know, Todd Pletcher is just, when it comes to this race, knows how to win it. Now, I also mentioned this on the show. This is a different year. It's a different year. It's a different track. It's a different distance. You kind of can start. I mean, you could throw a lot of that out the window.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think the easiest way to win one of these big races is to get a really good horse, and Todd Pletcher's had a lot of them, right? So that always helps the horses. But there's no doubt he knows how to have them ready for this one. And again, the flip side of it is he wasn't really trying to get this horse ready for this one. He was told they're running here. So that, and I think maybe at the end of the day, maybe that was my final pause to be like, play him on tickets, don't put him on top. Because it's like, if they would have came out right after that allowance, because you and I were like, run him in the Belmont. I was live on the Derby show on VSiN, and Patrick and I were like, run him in the Belmont.
Like, definitely. Yeah.
And immediately they said, we're not running him in the Belmont. And I thought, well, that's weird. That's dumb, but whatever.
Yeah.
So it's odd. I mean, but look, I anybody, including you, obviously, who's picking him, you may be extremely happy. I can't sit here and say, oh, I think that's a bad pick, because I don't. I'm scared to death of him. And that's why I'm using him.
I think I think with Mind Frame, it's going to be interesting, because I think we're going to learn. I don't necessarily think it's going to like dictate the rest of his career or this year even.
No.
But I do think it's going to give us an indication of if he's like, justify flight line good, like a lot of people think, or if he's just been a really good horse so far and that's about it, because even if he loses, he could still prove a lot here. Because you know how it goes, especially with those kind of horses, not good horses. I'm talking about the really good ones. Even if he were to lose, you would maybe go, well, damn, man, like he lost, but damn, he ran his eyeballs out. Like he did everything he could, and Thierry Leon just got to him late, or whatever it is. But if he spits the bit a little fiercest style in the Derby and runs up the track, runs 7th or something, you're going to say, well, I don't know if I really learned anything from him, but I know he's probably not the elite superstar that a lot of people thought he was.
Yeah. No, I agree. And you're right. There is a world where he runs a great second to Sierra Leone, and you're like, well, he's very good. So we'll see him. And this is not the end all be all for him. You're right. We'll see. I think it's going to be, he is very fascinating. I think, look, I would rather him be in the race than Fierceness, to be completely honest, because Fierceness is a horse that's just going to piss you off no matter what. Where this horse, you kind of know going in, look, we don't know for sure what he's capable of. With Fierceness, he's capable of it, and then he'll either do it or he won't, and it's stupid. This horse, it's like he may be one of the best in the crop, and this is going to be amazing, or he may just not be very good. But either way, he's not really going to surprise you. So and people were talking about Flightline and his path. Look, every path to the big race has to go through, most of the time, I should say, an allowance and a maiden, and you don't face very many good horses. That's handicapping when they get to this point to determine, okay, are they good enough? Think of Arrogant when he came to the Travers and won. He had beaten nobody, but you kind of watch him and you're like, he's really good. And that's what you see when you watch this horse too. He's very, very, very good.
I wanted to one less R, Ron, but it's okay. You almost got it right. Most people misspell it even worse. So for me, I'm looking at 5-2 on the very lowest is what I would need. 3-1 is what I'm hoping I get. Anything lower than 5-2, like for whatever some stupid reason he's 2-1. I don't because that would mean Sierra Leone is way playable. Then I would probably lean more towards that. So I need all of 5-2, every bit of it, but most likely I'm going to probably hammer if he's 3-1. If he's 7-2 or higher, then yeah, it's game on. All right, guys, that is a look at the Belmont Stakes. Of course, you're going to get exactly how I'm playing the race, exactly how Halterman's playing the race, all our different bets that we are suggesting for the race in the Belmont betting Bible. It is available over at racingdudes.com right now. Oh, Shoddy, it's been, that's actually, like I say, that's the closest it really comes to my name, because most of the time it's like, Jarrod, Jarid. I mean, my name for whatever reason it's always been the weird spelling to a lot of people, which I don't think it is. But
No, I that's the way I would guess. That'd be the first guess of how you would spell it. Yeah, if I was doing it. Yeah.
We had a guy in our at school that he was Jared, but it was Jarrod, and so we just called him J-Rod.
Yeah.
So, because to me that's how it sounds, right? J-Rod. Anyways, I
thought
say
that was
it's Jal
actually
and red. That's how I told the kids. So
But
that's why my favorite color is red. That's what I told the boys. So
there you go.
all right, guys, that's all the time we have. Check us out at racingdudes.com, of course, for all our free picks and our premium picks, as well as that betting Bible I just mentioned. Go get your hands on that at racingdudes.com. All you have to do is click the Get Racing Dudes Premium button on the website, on the main menu there. And you click that, you go to the page, and you can see it is available at the top of the page. You also have a kind of a new look for the subscriptions to give you a better indication of what you're getting with each one. If you do get the premium picks for $70 a month, the betting Bibles are included for free. So it's a good time to do that, obviously, with the summer racing kicking off and the Belmont. And, of course, as we get into, we are at Saratoga. But when we get back to Saratoga and all the big races we have throughout the summer, it's a good time to be a subscriber. You get all the picks plus all the betting Bibles. And, again, I saw a question earlier. And if you're still on here, I'm sorry. If you basically, whenever we post the Bible, it will be in your dashboard. Just same spot where all your picks are. You just got to log in to the dashboard and you'll see the update. It's always updated. If before you make a bet, make sure you go into there, download the most recent one. I will send out emails when we do send out updates for that as well. But again, the betting Bible is available for purchase. The final version should be out later tonight. All right. If you want more insight on the, go check out the Magic Mike show, who did the Saratoga Pick 5. What'd you guys do on Due to Bet?
Well, we talked about the Belmont for a little bit, and then we previewed the NBA and NHL final series. It's going to be pretty good on the NHL side. I don't care about NBA, so
you don't care about the finals? No,
not
an NBA guy, huh?
I won't watch 1 second of it. I can promise you that.
I've actually gotten into it this year a little bit. I probably won't watch it much, but I do like following it. I think it's since I've gotten back into playing cards, like sports cards, I care just because I'm I like watching these guys and know what teams they play for and what their values are and things like that. So I think that's been a big reason of why I've watched a lot of NBA this year. But guys, we are on Twitter at race_dudes, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page. Apple Podcast, Spot, all the places you listen to podcasts, we're make sure you go to YouTube. If you're watching it on here, we appreciate it. Hit us with a like and a subscribe. Go join the Discord. Halterman it's his favorite thing to do is join the Discord. So if you want to not interact with Halterman on Discord anymore, make sure you go join the Discord. You can find the link in all of our social media bios. I'm just running through the comments here. What's the drink of choice, man? It's probably what are you gonna have some sort of Belmont drink? I don't know. The Post is always a big one for us. I tend to go towards just typical Woodford, and although in Saratoga I like to go with the little tequila action. I don't know. We'll see how I'm feeling.
The answer is we don't know because we heard that the liquor license the liquor contract is actually Belmont owns it for this weekend and not Saratoga. So I think the drinks will actually be different this weekend than normal Saratoga.
So typical.
Yeah, that's kind of what I heard. The regular Saratoga vendors are not going to be there. But is that reality? I don't know, but that's what I heard.
Curtis, is Curtis not our Curtis Manlow? Are you going to be there? Because I feel like I smell a bet pending if you're going to be there. I don't know.
Curtis is fun. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be there though.
Because he loves him some Dornock and I do not. So I feel like we could have a fun little head to head there.
I feel like if you ever were on the Discord, you would understand what he's talking about. He's loved Dornock forever, and now it's just a running joke every race he's in.
No, you just got off of it. I've been off of it for a while. So
See, that's the thing, and I won't know anything that's happening. So
the Hootie concert, that'll be nice.
that would be fun.
Yeah, Kevin's at a wedding and Curtis is at the Hootie. So there you go.
Yep.
Is the wedding still on, Kevin? You haven't changed your mind on going to the race yet? I'm surprised.
Oh, I had a question. If hopefully Brick is still on, I don't know, but that's your real name, Brick. But I have a question, and I'm very curious about this for real. Why do you capitalize the first letter in every word you write? Is that a thing that it automatically, like your phone or your computer does that? Do you purposely capitalize every letter in the first word of or the first letter in every word you write? Because I've only seen two people do that in the history of the world. You and Ric Flair does that as well. And on the wrestling podcast I listen to, they always wonder, does Ric Flair actually capitalize the first letter in every word, or is that something that's automatically done by a phone or a computer? So if you could please let me know that. I really want to know that mystery.
You can tell that's been bothering you. You've been thinking about that for a while.
Well, they talk about it with Rick all the time. And they're like, why does he do that? Like, why would anybody do that? And they were like, it's got to be like an automatic function, because why would anybody take the time to like hit the shift key and capitalize a letter when they write it? Yeah.
I got to find it. I'm going to find a comment so we can put it up as an example.
Every one of his has it. So that's why I'm asking him. And I curiously want to know, A, does it automatically happen? Or B, are you actually doing that? It's so weird. No, I'm not heated about it at all. I'm genuinely curious, like why that happens.
I don't know. It's weird. The N is not capitalized, but this is. So I don't know.
Well, that's
By isn't either. So I don't know. That's weird.
Wait a second. Huh. But still, it's weird.
Well, I guess Brick's left.
Maybe
Brick.
Brick.
We'll find. He's been in most of these, so we'll find out the next time.
Well, that's sad. Yeah, maybe we'll start the show with it as soon as we see him. Actually, as soon as we see him, we'll stop the show.
Stop it. Yeah,
because he'll make a comment about something, and we'll stop it, and then we will. It's odd. What podcast magic? Jim Cornette and Brian Last. They try to figure it out. They have tried like to get on their phone and see if there is a function they'll do it. They can't get it to do it. So I don't know. It is a mystery to me that I need solved, because I'm very weirded out by it, I guess would be the right way to put it.
Well, you guys, if you guys get in touch with Brick, since you guys are, I'm sure, all close with Brick, make sure you ask him, and we'll see. It's got to be, to me, my guess is it's some sort of, well, no, I mean, I don't know what kind of, maybe like some kind of like a voice to text type thing. And I don't know.
Could that be it? Is it a voice to text?
Most of those don't capitalize though, unless you maybe it's like proper case or something. Magic. What is that? Like we're like some title case or something where it's like, I don't know. It's weird.
I swear I'm not being an asshole. I genuinely want to know, because it's bothered me. And I had never seen anybody do it until, other than Ric Flair, until Brick.
Well, I don't know. I just keep every time I see Brick, I just think of Anchorman. So that's
yeah.
I love Lamp.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's gonna be a wrap for us. Again, we head out tomorrow for Saratoga. So if you're gonna be there, make sure you send us a message on any of our social or email us, whatever, and definitely look for us. Like, just scan the paddock bar, and like that's what we always tell. Anytime we are at Saratoga, if you're looking for us, you think the popcorn guy will be there? Because I definitely want some popcorn.
That was fun meeting the popcorn guy. Let me describe exactly where we're at, so there's no confusion, and so I don't get after we're home next week. I tried to find you guys, and you're not on Discord anymore, so I couldn't get a hold of you. Let me be very clear. You walk in the paddock bar.
Take a right.
Go to the right. Go to the right corner of the paddock bar. We are there about 80% of the time. If we're not there, we've walked up to the bar to get a drink, or the race is running and it's a big one and we've walked out to watch the race. But 80% of the time, we are right there in that right corner of the paddock bar. Walk in, look right. There's a corner. We'll be there.
Yeah, we if there's like a long table, like table or stand up table type thing, like a tall top or whatever, and we're usually there by the paddock bar to the right, like he's saying, or we go like it's if you're looking at the track from the paddock bar all the way to the right, we typically go down that way it's a little easier shot down there.
Yeah.
Just past the wire. We like to watch races right there on the rails. So
yeah.
What time are we showing up on Saturday? You'd probably be there for the first race, I'd say.
Let's see. Hold on, I'll tell you. We're definitely going to be there for the second race. I know that we might miss that first. Oh, I don't know. It's not that. Yeah, 10:45 is not that early.
Depends on when they get the scratches out. That's really the biggest question.
Well, and to be completely honest, what he just said is 1,000% accurate, because the problem is we're not there on vacation, and I wish we were, but we're not. So we got to work, and scratches come out. There's also 28 tracks running that day. They all got to get updated. So
yeah,
that's the bad part of it.
That's why it's like become a thing where it's like, well, we check, like, well, we won't be there for the first, so we'll be there by second or third. But it all depends. When we're home, it's not as big a deal. It's still a pain in the ass, but it's not as big a deal because we can just get on a computer and do it and watch the races. We got on TV, but now it's like you got to get over there, and obviously it's gonna be crazy. It helps that we're staying right next to the track. So
I was say we don't have to drive anywhere, and it's about a 5 to 10 minute walk to the gate, so we'll be fine.
By the way, I wanted to mention this because it reminded me when I was just on the homepage. Everybody go check out the power play of the day for tomorrow. We talked about the Kentucky Oaks.
Yeah.
Ways and Means running tomorrow at Saratoga. Thursday at Saratoga. Race number 7. Ways and Means. So there you go.
Yeah.
So good spot for her. But talking about the Oaks earlier and how the Oaks horses, she's running there. So if you wonder where she was at, that's where she's at. Yeah, it's gonna be a long day. Friday and Saturday gonna be long days, but that's why we fuel up at the paddock bar. So
it won't be that long if you're drunk. That's right. That's
what I've learned. That's it. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Good luck this weekend in the Acorn and, of course, the Belmont Stakes. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Blinkers Off. Join our horse racing community at racingdudes.com and follow us on Twitter at racing_dudes. Want to make money betting horses? Bet with the Racing Dudes.